exploit women, to exploit yourself, to denigrate yourself. But now, when you have a chance to sit in solitary and begin to think about this thing, that still small voice, that little God voice that's in the presence of each of us, that little measure of faith that's been given to every man, the reality of God, even if it's a subconscious reality, that reality of God, that still small voice becomes more and more apparent. Now, we may not be able to identify that this still small voice is the voice of God, this measure of faith that God has given to each of his creation. So we hear a voice of reason, and we begin to recognize there is something wrong. And so we make all these plans. That's what we do on New Year's Eve. When we make all these resolutions, we have a moment of reflection, a moment of realizing another whole year has passed and our life is still jacked up and possibly even more jacked up than it was. So we make resolutions. I'm going to change this. I'm going to change that. We begin listening to that voice of reason within us, that voice of God, that measure of faith that has been placed in all of humanity, and we make decisions. Because we want change. And for that moment, we sort of garner hope from the new year, crossing over from the old into the new. There's hope there because we're starting a new year. We can start afresh. Hope. But it's not real hope. It's sort of a pseudo hope that really doesn't last past a couple days into the new year. Oh, well, I'll just do it one more time. I'll just do it. Maybe I'll cut down. I'll forget it, I can't quit till the next new year. Hope. We need that hope. But we need real hope. And that real hope is a realization of God. That real hope is a realization of Jesus, the doorway to God that Jesus has ushered into mankind, that we're standing right there at the door. You are well by the sacrifice of Jesus for you before God. It's simply walking through that doorway and simply being well. That's where we're at. That's the hope. That's what Jesus said. See, we spend all this time trying to beat people up with all these rules and regulations of religion. Jesus said, just give them the good news. Your situation isn't hopeless anymore. I've established your relationship, your link up with the Father. That relationship that Adam sort of destroyed, I've sort of repave that road, open that door again. You are connected to God. Every man. You just walk in that reality. That's the hope. That's the good news. See, I think we spend too much time trying to be well. And believing we're not well by God because we still have our issues. And a lot of folks are telling us we're not well. No, you can't be cool with God if you're still doing that, or if you're doing this, or if you're doing that. And so they heap hopelessness on us. You know how you are. You know your bents. You know your weaknesses. We looked at the Jews, the first Christians, Pharisees that were Jews in the Bible, and they were taking Gentile converts and trying to get them circumcised. Trying to get them to be like they were. Trying to get them to follow the laws and the teachings of Moses. And Peter said to him, you're putting yokes on those Gentiles that you nor your fathers were able to bear. You're creating in them the same hopelessness that you and your fathers have lived through. It's all good news. You're well in the eyes of God. You don't have to do anything but realize it. And now our function here, now our focus is simply to try to be well. Physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, relationally, in every way. But you're already okay with God. That's the hope. You're no longer hopeless. You're no longer trying ascetivism. I can't do this. I can't do that. No longer trying to beat yourself, fog yourself into, punish your body and all that. Doing all these things, trying to make yourself right with God. That's hopelessness because you can't. On your best day, your righteousness is as filthy rags. That's hopeless. Jesus said, forget that hopelessness. You can't do it. I've done it. Here's the hope. Be well. This is the good news. Walk in it and quit trying to make yourself right with God. Quit smoking cigarettes so you'll be healthier. Eat right. Do a little exercise. Be kind to your neighbor. Help your neighbor. Love your neighbor. And even in that process of faith, the hope, You'll be stepping into on that level of charity, love for your neighbor. And then you'll reach that pinnacle, that ultimate step, which is loving God with all of your heart. Remember back in high school when the gym teacher would get mad at you. Okay, hit the stairs, you'd have to run the stairs, right? Well, I'm telling you today, hit the stairs. You want to be well, hit the stairs, but start at square one. Faith. God has given you faith already. Square two, hope. Your situation isn't hopeless. Hope is the most powerful mindset that any human being can have, and it's the catalyst for change. For real. Embrace that hope. Pray for hope. If you feel hopeless, talk to God. You're already well in the eyes of God, but talk to God. Ask God to give you hope. He will. You'll find the whole world, another stair step, the stair step of love begin opening up before you. And that's what we need as well. Tremendous love, loving our neighbors. We need love. We need to give love. We need to receive love. Let's sow some love so we can receive some love. It's not hopeless. In the name of Jesus. Well, I know I've bent your ear for some time now. I want to thank you for joining me for another perspective. And I want to leave you with this one tidbit. And just know that God truly, truly loves you. He really does. And so do I.